Orcs Must Die 3 isn't trying to do anything new. It's not a real sequel, it's not trying to improve on its ideas, it is just trying to get a new generation of players, because there's been no Orcs Must Die for about 8 years or something. I reviewed Orcs Must Die 1 a good 10 years ago. I really liked it at the time. It's one of these tower defense games that allows a lot more player involvement in the process, because you're not simply leaving it to the towers to dispatch waves of enemies. If you haven't played any of the Orcs Must Die games before, maybe watch my review of the first one, because then you'll get a sense for my enthusiasm about this particular kind of tower defense gaming model. But to be reviewing the same game again 10 years later is kind of frustrating. Robot Entertainment have had 10 years to come up with new ideas, and in terms of how players engage with each level, it feels like there is less variety rather than more. I'll explain that. What they have added is more variety in terms of weapons and spells and traps and things, and a new war scenario mode, which is basically an extended, larger level of the same kind. And war scenarios allow you to place traps which are basically bigger versions of smaller traps. So the problem is the game thinks its variety in the gameplay comes from things like new traps and larger levels, but they're not varying the design of these levels in any particularly relevant way. They all look kind of different. The tangled mess of paths that lead to your rift vary in configuration somewhat, but the player's engagement with every level is pretty much exactly the same, because although they're different sizes and aesthetically they look a bit different, they all boil down to your rift and several paths of enemies that are trying to get to your rift. And the first thing a player does in any level is to isolate a choke point. The second thing a player does in any level is to realize that the developers are allergic to players forming choke points. It's extremely difficult in most cases, and often outright impossible. As far as I remember, this was the case with Orcs Must Die 2 as well, 8 years ago, that I was a bit disappointed by because it was very similar to Orcs Must Die 1. It seems that Robot Entertainment is fixated on multiplayer, cooperative as a play mode. It would appear extremely easy to cater to single player as well, but the single player experience is a frantic chasing your tail, running backwards and forwards between different enemy spawn points, trying to keep things under control. You never feel powerful or relaxed. You're always on the back foot. Every level has at least 2 and up to maybe 6 paths that enemies take to your rift. There's no one level that feels like it's just a playground for your traps. There's always an intense pressure, and that might be nice for a majority of levels, but to have all of the levels designed in the same fundamental way means that there is no variety in this game. You can change the traps, which are just changing numbers around, sacrificing slowing enemies for damaging enemies, sacrificing rate of fire for more damage, but the sum of all these tweaks has to arrive at the same result, to conquer the enemies before they get to your rift. Now, why isn't there a level editor here? Why isn't this a thing? It would seem that insofar as you can build traps, there's already, to a degree, editing going on with the levels. Is it because they want to sell more levels down the line? I don't know. I don't think there'll ever be a level editor because Robot Entertainment are, I think, religiously opposed to new ideas, so I think this is the game we're going to get again and again and again. And as it's been so long since the last one, it's true. They're probably not looking to demonstrate any new ideas, they just want a new generation of players. One of the changes that is disappointing is that traps and spells and items aren't unlocked as you reach new levels as they were. The majority of them are now hidden behind a sort of skull paywall, so you have to accumulate resources that you'd normally spend upgrading your traps in buying access to the traps and items outright. There's no particular reason for this. I suppose Robot Entertainment just wanted us to grind a bit more. And because every level encourages the same kind of interaction from the player, the whole game feels like a bit of a grind. I hope that Robot Entertainment get the therapy it needs to think a new thought. That would be wonderful. Maybe then we'll get a game that isn't just a slight graphical upgrade from the previous game, and that would be better. So yeah, if you haven't played this series at all before, then this game may feel quite fresh to you and you might actually enjoy it. Maybe look at my 10-year-old kind of cringy review. If you've played Orcs Must Die 1 and 2 and got bored of them and stopped playing, you don't need this one. Just play Orcs Must Die 2 again. I basically just want an editor. That's all I want. I think Warcraft 3 spoiled me. Yep, one of the laziest sequels I've ever seen, especially having been released so many years after the previous one. They just want a new generation of players. New ideas be damned. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that. Thumbs up, thumbs down, upgrade, thumbs up, click the thing, upgrade the stuff, do the thing, stuff.